But Pac wasn't worried about death. He was not scared of death. Neither am I. I might go tonight. I might go tomorrow. I might live another 20 years. God don't bless me, but who knows?
This just in tonight, the hip-hop star Shock G has reportedly died.
He gave us the Humpty Dance and introduced the world to Tupac Shakur. But what they never told you about Shock G's death will change everything.
I'm Shock G, the one that put the satin on your panties. Never knew a hooker.
Share me. Pac said share. Pac wrote that lyric. Never knew a hooker that could share me.
He tried to save his best friend's life. The warning was crystal clear.
I Get Around was the time I pulled Pac out of the party and I said, yo, they got 2 more hits on you. They already had 2 in Oakland, now they got 2 in LA. 4 people are paid to kill you. Take it easy. Take my key, live in my condo while I'm on tour.
Shock G knew Tupac was marked for death. He offered him protection, a safe place to hide. But Tupac's response revealed why he refused to hide.
You know what Pac told me? He said, you finished? You don't get it, do you? I don't give a f. And walked away. And before he got out of sight, he looked back one last time and went.
That conversation haunted him for 25 years. The guilt would consume him. And on the 22nd of April, 2021, Shock G was found dead in a Tampa hotel room. Fentanyl, methamphetamine, and alcohol in his system. This is how losing Tupac ultimately destroyed the man who tried to protect him. In 1990, Gregory Jacobs had everything hip-hop wanted. The Humpty Dance hit #1 on the Billboard rap charts and #11 on the pop charts, with Digital Underground's alter ego Humpty Hump delivering one of the most memorable lines in music history. I once got busy in a Burger King bathroom. At 6 feet 1 inch with legitimate musical credentials from his childhood drumming days and undeniable creative vision, the industry saw their next crossover sensation. The success wasn't just commercial, it was cultural. The Humpty Dance was one of 2 top 20 charting hits on the Dance Club Songs chart and earned a Grammy nomination for Best Rap Performance by a duo or group.
Do the Humpty Hump, come on, do the Humpty Hump. Check me out, y'all.
The song has been sampled by over 50 artists and changed hip-hop forever, proving that humor and funk could coexist with serious artistic expression. When Digital Underground created their debut album, Sex Packets, in just 2 weeks, reaching certified platinum status, it seemed like Shock G's golden trajectory was locked in. But Shock G wasn't just building a career, he was quietly battling demons that would eventually consume him. While the world celebrated Digital Underground's innovative sound that blended jazz, blues, funk, and rock into something entirely new, Jacobs was already experimenting with substances that would plague him for decades. The pressure to maintain multiple personas, Shock G, Humpty Hump, and various other characters, created an internal fracture that he medicated through increasingly dangerous means. The genius behind Digital Underground's success was Shock G's ability to play multiple instruments, produce beats, write lyrics, and create entire fictional personas that felt completely authentic. He could switch between the serious, socially conscious Shock G and the cartoonish, sexually provocative Humpty Hump with such skill that fans genuinely believed they were different people. This wasn't just artistic versatility. It was a form of psychological escape that allowed him to process trauma and pain through performance. When Digital Underground signed with Tommy Boy Records alongside Queen Latifah, De La Soul, and Stetsasonic, Shock G found himself at the center of hip-hop's golden age. But success came with its own burdens. The constant touring, creative pressure, and industry politics began taking their toll on someone who was naturally introverted and sensitive. While other artists dealt with fame through traditional support systems, Shock G turned inward, using drugs as a way to cope with the overwhelming demands of celebrity. The warning signs were there from the beginning. Friends noticed his increasing reliance on various substances during recording sessions and tours. His behavior became increasingly erratic, alternating between brilliant creative bursts and periods of withdrawal and depression. The industry culture of excess normalized drug use, making it easier for someone like Shock G to hide his growing addiction behind the facade of artistic experimentation. What made Shock G's situation particularly dangerous was his intellectual approach to drug use. He wasn't just getting high, he was studying the effects of different substances on his creativity and performance. This calculated experimentation would eventually lead him down a path toward the deadly combination of methamphetamine, alcohol, and fentanyl that would claim his life 3 decades later. The foundation for his tragic end was being laid even during Digital Underground's greatest triumphs. The relationship between Shock G and Tupac Shakur wasn't just professional, it was deeply personal, making the rapper's 1996 death a trauma that would haunt Shock G for the rest of his life. When 19-year-old Tupac joined Digital Underground in 1990 through manager Atron Gregory's TNT Records, he was just another hungry young rapper trying to break into the industry. Shock G, 5 years older and already established, became both mentor and protective older brother to the future legend.
Yeah, you know it. Once again, it's the Underground Mix coming at you. My name is Shock G.
And I'm Tupac.
Yeah, okay. Now see, D-Flow continues. D-Flow ain't stopped. Sons of the P, okay?
Hell no.
He was not scared of death, and neither am I, Shock G would later say in a 2017 interview that went viral after his own death. But this fearlessness came from a place of deep pain and knowledge. Shock G had witnessed firsthand the threats against Tupac's life and tried desperately to save his friend from the violence that seemed to follow him everywhere. The pivotal moment came during the recording of I Get Around in 1993. According to the source material, Shock G pulled Tupac aside at a party and delivered a chilling warning.
I Get Around was the time I pulled Pac out of the party, and I said, yo, they got 2 more hits on you. They already had 2 in Oakland, now they got 2 in LA. 4 people are paid to kill you. Take it easy. Take my key, live in my condo while I'm on tour.
Tupac's response revealed his fatalistic mindset.
You know what Pac told me? He said, you finish? You don't get it, do you? I don't give a f. And walked away. And before he got out of sight, he looked back one last time and went.
The exchange demonstrated the psychological burden Shock G carried, knowing his friend was marked for death, but being powerless to stop the inevitable tragedy. This conversation would haunt Shock G for years, when Tupac was finally gunned down in Las Vegas on September 7, 1996, dying 6 days later on September 13th. Shock G blamed himself for not doing more. The guilt was compounded by the fact that Tupac had just asked him to be the music director for an upcoming overseas tour, a collaboration that would never happen. Reflecting on the last days of Tupac's life, he told reporters he offered the Changes rapper his home when he was worried for his safety. The offer was genuine, born from real fear for his friend's life. But Tupac's refusal to hide, his belief that running would be cowardly, ultimately sealed his fate.
Because Pac was a thinker like that. He was always plotting. If I die this way, put this out. If I die this way, I want you to put this out. He was thinking and he wanted to cover all those bases.
Shock G's description of Tupac's final moments in the hospital was particularly devastating. According to his account, when Tupac regained consciousness and learned about his injuries, that he only had 1 lung and faced a lifetime of medical complications, he made a conscious choice to let go rather than live diminished. This wasn't suicide in the traditional sense, but a warrior's decision to die on his own terms. The loss of Tupac marked the beginning of Shock G's spiral into serious substance abuse. The guilt, trauma, and sense of failure as a protector created wounds that never healed. He began using drugs not just recreationally, but as medication for psychological pain that traditional therapy couldn't touch. By 2003, Shock G's world was unraveling. The hip-hop landscape had shifted dramatically from the funky, experimental sounds of digital underground to the harder, more commercial rap dominating radio. Artists like Jay-Z, DMX, and Lauryn Hill represented a new generation that left little room for the playful innovation that defined digital underground's golden era. Shock G found himself increasingly irrelevant in an industry he had helped create. The creative frustration was crushing for someone who had been instrumental in launching Tupac's career and creating some of hip-hop's most innovative music. Shock G battled substance abuse months before his death, but the problems had actually started decades earlier. What began as creative experimentation had evolved into full-blown addiction that affected every aspect of his life. Digital Underground's 1998 album, Who Got the Gravy, failed to make significant chart impact, despite featuring artists like Big Pun and Biz Markie. The music industry had moved on, and Shock G felt abandoned by the culture he had helped shape. He later admitted that just being in the studio made him depressed, leading to increased drug use as a way to cope with creative frustration and financial instability. The addiction was comprehensive and dangerous. Over the years, Shock G had experimented with just about every drug you can imagine.
No, for real. It's like, I was just, I don't know. I was like...
What made his situation particularly tragic was his intelligence. He approached drug use like a researcher, studying how different substances affected his creativity and performance. This intellectual curiosity made the addiction more insidious and harder to recognize as a problem. By the mid-2000s, friends and family staged interventions to help Shock G get clean. He moved in with security personnel in Los Angeles, attempting to break the cycle of addiction that had dominated his life. During his brief periods of sobriety, he made dramatic lifestyle changes, becoming vegetarian, focusing on physical health, and reconnecting with his musical roots. These clean periods gave hope to those who loved him, but they were always temporary. The 2004 solo album, Fear of a Mixed Planet, represented one of Shock G's attempts to reclaim his artistic voice while sober. He toured extensively with Digital Underground, trying to recapture the magic of their early years. But the pressures of performing, financial stress, and underlying mental health issues made sustained sobriety nearly impossible.
I wanted to throw up afterwards. I can't believe I did that to someone. I can't believe I did that to someone. It was disgusting.
The most devastating aspect of Shock G's decline was his isolation. Unlike other celebrities whose addictions were public spectacles, Shock G suffered largely in private. His quiet, intellectual nature meant he didn't seek help aggressively, and the hip-hop community's stigma around mental health made it difficult to find appropriate support. February 2021 marked the beginning of the end for Shock G. The incidents in Tampa revealed a man completely consumed by addiction, displaying erratic behavior that should have triggered immediate intervention. Per a police report, a man under the influence of drugs and alcohol got into an argument with his girlfriend and other hotel guests at the Sheraton Tampa Riverwalk Hotel. The details were disturbing and heartbreaking. The report continues to detail that the man, Shock G, threw water on some guests, stripped down to his boxers, and walked away from the hotel. This wasn't just typical drug-induced behavior. It was a complete psychological breakdown happening in public. Hotel guests watched as one of hip-hop's pioneering artists lost touch with reality in the most humiliating way possible. The police response revealed the severity of Shock G's condition. The rapper was found a few blocks from the hotel and was subsequently taken into protective custody by the police. Instead of arresting him, officers recognized that he needed medical intervention. The responding officer wrote a report stating he believed that without treatment, Gregory would get himself hurt and was unable to determine for himself if medical treatment was necessary. The woman described as his girlfriend provided crucial details about his drug use. This incident reportedly occurred in February, and a woman described as his girlfriend at the time told the police that the rapper had used meth that day and became irate and took off his clothes and began running through the streets. The image of Shock G running naked through Tampa streets represented the complete destruction of his dignity and self-control. 5 weeks later, another incident occurred that revealed the escalating violence in his behavior. Per the documents, a similar incident occurred about 5 weeks after the initial one in March with the same woman. The police reported to a battery call at a California pizza kitchen, where Jacobs allegedly pushed her up against the wall in the stall and covered her nose and mouth with his hand. This escalation to physical violence against a woman he was close to demonstrated how far Shock G had fallen from the gentle, creative genius who had mentored Tupac and brought joy to millions through his music. The man who had written playful, positive songs like the Humpty Dance was now committing acts of domestic violence while high on methamphetamine. The report shows that the officer cleared the case April 5th, citing an uncooperative victim. This pattern, where victims of domestic violence decline to press charges, is common in addiction-related abuse cases. The woman likely still cared for Shock G and hoped he would get help rather than face criminal prosecution. These incidents should have been wake-up calls for anyone in Shock G's circle who still had influence over him. Instead, they were largely ignored or covered up, allowing him to continue his destructive path. The 3 weeks between the second incident and his death represented a final opportunity for intervention that never came. April 22, 2021 began like any other day at the Vista Inn and Suites in Tampa, Florida. Shock G had been staying at the budget hotel for several days, a far cry from the luxury accommodations he once enjoyed during Digital Underground's heyday. The 57-year-old hip-hop legend was largely unrecognized by hotel staff, just another guest in a city where few remembered his contributions to music history. According to the report obtained by Billboard, Shock G was last seen alive at a hotel in Tampa, Florida. He was found unresponsive April 22nd by the hotel manager, who checked in on the rapper after he missed his checkout time. This mundane detail, missing checkout time, was the only thing that prevented Shock G's body from decomposing undiscovered for days or weeks. The hotel manager's discovery was routine at first. Guests occasionally oversleep or forget checkout procedures. But when knocking on the door of room 348 produced no response, the situation became concerning. Using a master key to enter, the manager encountered a scene that would haunt them forever. Gregory Jacobs lying motionless on the bed, clearly deceased.
This just in tonight, the hip-hop star Shock G has reportedly died.
Gregory Edward Jacobs' cause of death was previously unreported, though records show that the 57-year-old struggled with drug use ahead of his death. The latest details were outlined in an initial case summary released by the Hillsborough County Medical Examiner. The autopsy would later reveal the lethal combination that killed him, but in those first moments, it was simply a tragedy unfolding in a nondescript hotel room. The medical examiner's findings were definitive and heartbreaking. According to the initial case summary released by the Hillsborough County Medical Examiner's Office and obtained by People, Shock G died from an accidental overdose of fentanyl, ethanol, and methamphetamine. This wasn't suicide. It was the inevitable result of an addiction that had spiraled completely out of control. The presence of fentanyl was particularly significant. Shock G, an early hip-hop pioneer who introduced the world to Tupac Shakur and the Humpty Dance, died in April from a massive overdose involving a cocktail of fentanyl, methamphetamine, and alcohol. Fentanyl's involvement suggested that Shock G might not have known what he was consuming. a common tragedy in the current drug epidemic where dealers cut other substances with the synthetic opioid to increase potency. It's unclear what levels of each drug were found in Jacob's system, though we're assuming substantial quantities were involved. The intermingling of the various lethal substances didn't help matters either, especially at elevated doses. The combination created a perfect storm of respiratory depression that his body couldn't survive. Hotel staff reported that Shock G had appeared healthy and active in the days before his death, making the overdose even more tragic. There were no signs of suicidal intent or farewell messages, just a man struggling with demons who finally lost the battle he had been fighting for decades. The scene in room 348 represented the end of a brilliant creative mind brought down by the same epidemic claiming thousands of lives across America. Our son, brother, and friend, Gregory Jacobs, also known as Shock G, suddenly passed away today. The cause of death is currently unknown, his family said in a prior statement provided to People at the time. The initial confusion about his death reflected a family's shock and denial about losing someone who had battled addiction for so long that his death seemed both inevitable and impossible. The hip-hop community's response was immediate and heartfelt. Shock G will forever be remembered for his original Humpty Hump persona and the epic Humpty Dance that invaded hip-hop dance circles in the late 80s. Chopmaster J, Digital Underground's co-founder, captured the complexity of Shock G's legacy in an Instagram post. 34 years ago, almost to the day, we had a wild idea we can be a hip-hop band and take on the world through it. All the dream became a reality, and the reality became a nightmare for some. And now he's awakened from the fame long-lived Shock G aka Humpty Hump, and rest in peace, my brother Greg Jacobs. The timing of Shock G's death was particularly cruel. 2021 was already a devastating year for hip-hop, with DMX dying in April from a lethal overdose that also involved fentanyl. DMX's death came from a toxic combination of crack cocaine, fentanyl, alcohol, and prescription pills. Another example of how the fentanyl epidemic was claiming hip-hop legends. In Oakland, California, the city honored Shock G's memory with a celebration on August 21st, 2021. The Oakland City Council declared August 25th as Digital Underground Day, coinciding with Shock G's birthday. This official recognition ensured his contributions to hip-hop culture would be remembered beyond the tragedy of his death. Perhaps most tragically, Shock G died while working on projects that could have cemented his place in hip-hop history. He was writing a book about his experiences with Tupac and another about his wild tour stories. These untold stories died with him, representing lost history from one of hip-hop's most innovative periods. Today, when you hear the Humpty Dance at a party, watch someone attempt the signature moves, or see an artist sample that infectious beat, you're witnessing Shock G's immortal impact on culture. His creation didn't just hit #1, it became a permanent part of America's musical DNA, transcended generations, and proved that hip-hop could be both intellectually sophisticated and wildly entertaining. Young Humpty continues carrying the torch, keeping Shock G's legacy alive through performances and tributes that remind new audiences why Digital Underground was so revolutionary. The group didn't just make party music. They created a whole aesthetic that influenced everything from fashion to dance to the very concept of artistic alter egos in hip-hop. But Shock G's greatest legacy isn't the Humpty Dance, or even Digital Underground's platinum albums. It's Tupac Shakur. Without Shock G's mentorship, guidance, and willingness to give an unknown teenager from Baltimore his first real shot in the music industry, we might never have witnessed one of the greatest artistic careers in hip-hop history. Every time someone plays I Get Around, Dear Mama, or California Love, they're experiencing the ripple effects of Shock G's belief in raw talent. The producer credits tell the real story. Beyond launching Tupac's career, Shock G produced hits for the Lunas, collaborated with Prince, and created beats that sounded like nothing else in hip-hop. His production style, that funky jazz-influenced P-Funk sampling approach, helped define West Coast hip-hop's sound during its golden era and influenced countless producers who came after him. Shock G understood something many artists never grasp. Entertainment and intelligence aren't opposites. The Humpty Dance was simultaneously goofy and brilliant, crude and clever, accessible and artistic. This balance made Digital Underground special and proved that hip-hop audiences were hungry for creativity that challenged conventional wisdom about what rap music could be. When the Oakland City Council declared August 25th as Digital Underground Day, they weren't just honoring a local artist. They were recognizing someone who helped put Oakland on the cultural map and showed the world that the Bay Area had its own unique contribution to hip-hop culture. That official recognition ensures future generations will learn about the man behind Humpty Hump. Gregory Shock G. Jacobs died at 57, but his creations are eternal. Every time an artist creates an alter ego, every time a producer samples P-Funk, every time someone realizes hip-hop can be funny without being stupid, they're walking in the path Shock G blazed. His death was a tragedy, but his life was a masterpiece of creativity that continues inspiring artists around the world. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.